All right, everybody. We've had students filter in, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this evening's webinar. Welcome to University of Portland. We really appreciate you being with us tonight. Each of our campus partners will be introducing themselves. Again, my name is Matt Deschner. I work in the admissions office and very excited to have you here for this evening's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and we'll get started with Michael.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike McNerney. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I serve as the Director of Campus Safety and Emergency Management at the University of Portland.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Stewart. I am the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. It's so great to be chatting with you tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isabella Vickers. I'm the Associate Director of Counseling at the Health and Counseling Center. I'm happy to be here with you too.
All right. This evening, if anybody has questions, you're welcome to drop those in the Q&A. I'll go ahead and take care of those and monitor the Q&A throughout the night. But we are going to roll into this evening's presentation, and I am going to take this slide deck down and put up the slides that our presenters will be using. So we're going to go ahead and get started in just a bit, so bear with me. Now, presenters, as you're presenting, go ahead and let me know when you'd like me to advance slides, and we'll go ahead and take care of that here on my end. Take it away.
Well, thank you again so much. We're so excited that you're with us this evening. I think it's really important for you all to know that here at the University of Portland, we take a very collaborative care approach to how we support your students. From the moment that you step on campus to the moment that you leave campus, we want you to feel seen. We want you to feel safe and heard. And we have an incredible set of multiple interdisciplinary teams. They're going to set you up for success while you're here on campus. And tonight we're going to be talking about three of those different features. One is the care team. One is our counseling team. The other one is campus safety. And if you can jump to the next slide. We're going to go through an overview of all three of these. And so we're really excited to chat with you tonight about these three different teams and what they do. And I will jump in and start talking about our care team. You can go to the next slide. And the next slide. So a broad overview of what the care team does is they're a holistic, collaborative team that really focuses on all the aspects of who you are. We recognize it's not just your coursework and your grades that matter here on campus. It's who you are as a person. It's a really cura personalis, care for the whole person model that we take. We recognize that there's numerous aspects of your life that matter and impact your success on campus, whether that's your relationships, whether that's the dynamics between your roommates, whether that's a challenging conversation you had in a classroom, or maybe there's a personal family issue that happens. Someone in your family maybe suddenly becomes sick and ill and you need to leave. Maybe you become sick and ill and you need to make some adjustments or accommodations to your journey here at UP. We have a team of professionals that essentially connect to really support you and make sure that you will be successful. If you head to the next slide, we have essentially it's kind of a three-legged approach, which again focuses on wellness, academics, and res life. We have some images of our really friendly team here on campus, and you'll see Allie, Andy, and Joshua. Joshua represents residence life. So most of our students do live on campus, especially in the first two years and beyond. We want our students to live all 4 years on campus, and that's something that we guarantee here at the University of Portland. And so Joshua is your connection with Res Life. And again, so as we mentioned earlier, some of the issues that you may run into is maybe there's a roommate issue that you're having. Maybe you met at Wave and you thought, hey, we'll be really great roommates because we listen to the same music, but turns out maybe you go to bed at 10 p.m. and that person goes to bed at 3 a.m. And that just creates a lot of stress. And we are, again, the care team here is to support navigating those difficult conflicts that you may run into. On the academic side of the care team, again, maybe you signed up for a class because it sounded really great and you're really excited to take it, and then turns out maybe, oh, it was a lot more difficult, or I wasn't prepared as I thought it would be, or maybe you had a medical issue that prevented you to putting the time and effort that was required for that specific course. Our Andy is going to be there to help support and coordinate efforts with our faculty members to get you the support that you need. And then wellness, very broad, is going to coordinate efforts on a wide variety of issues that may be impacting you. For example, you may have a family member that becomes suddenly sick or ill, and they're going to help coordinate resources on campus to make sure that you get the support that you need to be successful. If you can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about some common reports that come into the care team. And so while you're at university, we recognize that that there are, we're at Wave right now. We're doing orientation on campus, and a lot of folks talk about this is the most exciting time of your life. And while that may be true, this is also a time of stress and the reality that there are serious issues and concerns that come up. And so we do on campus support all our students, whether they're experiencing suicidal thoughts or self-harm. Sometimes you get injuries. Sometimes there may be substance abuse. Learning to manage the limits. Sometimes there's again, when it comes to conflict, there may be some threatening behaviors towards others. Maybe again, there's the relationship issues, or there's you're on campus and you're managing a budget for the first time, and then you find yourself, well, I don't have it's halfway through the semester and I've run out of all of my meal points, and how do you get to between then and the end of the semester? That's a care team report that can be easily inputted, and our care team submission process is very easy. If you head to the next slide. Looks like we had some, sorry, what? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. You can submit a care team very easily. You can just literally go to the website and very easily submit one there. Also on the UP mobile app, you can very easily submit a care team. And really, it's very simple. It's very seamless for you to submit a care team. And just so you know, if someone submits a care team, maybe you weren't expecting it, that's very normal on our campus. We are a campus that really deeply cares about every single student. And so if we follow up with you, or if we have some parents on the call or family members on the call, if we follow up with your student, that is by design, because we care and we want to make sure that they get the support that you need. Again, if you go to the care team website, you'll also see some additional resources and support for students. And then I mentioned earlier, when it comes to food, we know food security is a big issue across the country for lots of college students. So we have a food pantry on campus that is accessible. And so that's a little bit about care team. And now we're going to turn it over to Isabella to talk about counseling services.
Thank you, Colin. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm Isabella. I lead the counseling team at our Health and Counseling Center. If you can go to the next slide. We are a team, a small but mighty team dedicated to our students' mental health and academic success. We help them flourish and empower them to actively engage in their mental health journey. Our team is made up of 3 licensed clinicians, and then we also have 2 master's level interns. One of them is going to be an art therapy intern this year, so we're very excited about that addition. Next slide. And go ahead and click into the bullet points, please. One more. Thank you. Today's college students are more open about their mental health and well-being, which means we're getting closer to breaking the stigma surrounding mental illness. However, despite this openness, common mental health challenges beyond basic anxiety and depression are still highly stigmatized, and a lot of young people suffer in silence. That said, people do seek counseling for many reasons, and this list is just some of the common reasons that our students come into the counseling center, and we're here to support them, whatever the reason, either in the Health and Counseling Center or by connecting them with other resources on campus, in the community, or beyond. You will notice some overlap in services, and as you see here, some of these items people come into counseling to talk about. They might also go to care team. They might talk to their healthcare provider in the health services side. This really reflects that there are many resources available to support our students, and we want students to walk through whatever door feels most comfortable to them. Next slide. Oh, also, these are some photographs of our consultation rooms so that you can get an idea of what it looks like in the counseling center. There's plenty of research that shows that counseling improves mental health and well-being. Mental health is always changing, and it's natural that we feel good some days and then we don't feel so good other days. Part of being human is really experiencing this ebb and flow in our moods, energy, and mental health. So the challenge is building the skills and resilience to navigate the changing tide. Making time to understand ourselves and deal with challenging feelings and experiences and build healthy coping skills improves our day-to-day life and our relationships with ourselves and others. Next slide. So, as I mentioned about the stigma, we are, as a team and campus, on a mission to destigmatize mental health challenges and normalize counseling and seeking support. I want to share some data points that really support the importance of this. 73% of college students experience, just stay on that same slide, would you? 73% of college students experience some form of mental illness during their academic journey. 33% of college students report having felt so depressed that they had trouble functioning. 80% of college students feel overwhelmed by their workload, and the demand for counseling services is growing 5 times faster than the average student enrollment. But only 25% of students with a mental health problem seek help. So it's really critical to have these conversations about mental health and to share that resources exist and they reach those who need help navigating mental health struggles. Go ahead and shift now to the next slide. At the Health and Counseling Center, counseling services are confidential and absolutely free to students. We provide consultation, individual, group, and couple therapy. crisis intervention and support, teletherapy, self-help resources, referrals, and also mental health education. A few things that were not resourced to treat and will refer to community resources and providers, advanced eating disorders, advanced substance abuse, and severe mental illness. But we have a wide network of referral partners, and so we will be happy to help assist in finding someone to support you. Our services are available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, closed during 12 to 1 for the lunch hour. And that QR code there will take you to the counseling services pages. And also you see there the Health and Counseling Center email. Okay, next slide. Of course, things don't happen only during those business hours. And so we also have after hours and teletherapy options available. The pilot helpline is staffed by counselors familiar with UP campus and resources. They're trained in crisis intervention and prepared to talk with students at any time for any reason. They say, and we like to say, that they're available 24/7 from anywhere. So students can call the pilot helpline no matter where they are, and they will be connected to a licensed counselor, and they can help with dealing with situations that the student's uncomfortable with, provide crisis support or intervention, provide connection to campus or local resources. Some of the reasons that a student might call or a family member or a friend might call on behalf of someone else. What to do if you're worried about a student, what to do if you're worried about a friend, grief about a recent breakup or a death or loss, conflict with a friend, sexual assault, thoughts of suicide or self-injury, harming others, and also, like I said, to connect students with local resources, emergency and otherwise. Better Mind is our third-party teletherapy partner, and they are licensed therapists across the country. They provide also confidential individual teletherapy sessions and well-being workshops from the convenience of students' laptop, smartphone, or tablet. They have appointments available daytime, nighttime, and on the weekends. And one of the benefits is that their therapists are licensed in many states. And so a student who lives here and in Hawaii, for example, can work with a therapist who's licensed in both Oregon and Hawaii. And when they are here at school, they can see them. And then when they go home on breaks, they can continue their therapy work with them. You can find all of that information on our website. And when you sign up for a Better Mind account, you just put in those preferences and it will direct you to the therapists that are licensed in your states, your home states. Okay, next slide. I want to just share a couple of tips about for parents and families about supporting your students' mental health from afar. There's a QR code here that will direct you to some FAQs and some resources on our website. But I wanted to point out specifically that evidence shows that staying in touch in a really consistent way helps the transition for everyone. Also, being open and honest, knowing what topics you're comfortable talking about with your student or with your parents, and what you would rather they discuss with a friend or a professional. Staying current about the events in their life and their academics, knowing the big milestones can help you connect and get ahead of any kind of misinformation or missing special dates. And then also telling them that you care about them no matter what, but that you want them to be healthy and safe. is really a demonstration of compassion and strength. And these all seem pretty obvious and basic, but it's just an important reminder when we're all going through these big changes and transitions. Okay, next. I'm going to shift for just a minute and give you a quick general overview of our health services. Like I said, Health and Counseling Center is located together, and we have an integrated clinic. Next slide. Our team of healthcare providers partner with students on their health journey. They provide confidential services, including evaluation and treatment of illnesses and injuries, preventable care, health education to all active UP students, regardless of their health insurance coverage. Actively enrolled University of Portland students are eligible for healthcare services and treatment. Our medical services or health services are billed to insurance, but we don't want that to be a barrier. So we definitely want students to come in and talk to our health team, and we will get you connected to the resources that are available. Next slide. If you do come in or your student does come in for medical care, they will see one of these capable and caring people. Our health services team is led by Kaylin Soldat, who is a family nurse practitioner. She has history and experience in family medical care, and Joe Buck has a lot of experience with urgent care. He has worked in ER and that kind of thing. He's a physician's associate. Then we also have an RN and a medical assistant. Okay, and one more shift of information for you. I want to tell you about our confidential advocacy program as well. Of course, we hope that none of our students will be harmed by interpersonal violence, but if they are, our confidential advocates are here to support UP students who have experienced gendered or sex-based harassment or violence on or off campus. They also support the students, staff, and faculty who are supporting the students. Confidential advocates are trained to provide trauma-informed support, and their services are confidential. In other words, they're not required to report to Title IX. They can really help students consider and strategize next steps and advocate for the resources that they need to feel safe on campus, increase their academic success, improve their personal wellness, consider whether or not to make a Title IX report, file a police report, or request an investigation or informal mediation process. Okay, and that is one more slide, and that will show you the team of confidential advocates. This is a group across campus. You'll see here we have a coordinator, and she's also one of our mental health counselors. We have professors on this list. We have someone from campus ministry, and we also have someone who is a student peer advocate. Thank you so much for listening. We'll have questions at the end. I know that was a lot of information.
All right, they're playing my song. Excuse me. So thank you again for joining us tonight. Obviously, the line of work I'm in, I'm quite passionate about all of these topics because these are things that help improve the safety of all of our students on campus. And if you're not feeling safe, it's harder to be safe. So we'll go ahead and jump to the next slide. This is my leadership team in the Campus Safety and Emergency Management Department. As mentioned, I'm the director. We've got Nicholas is my associate director for administration. He oversees dispatch and the administrative tasks of the office. And then Lorenzo Clara is my associate director for patrol operations, overseeing the officers who patrol the campus and provide support for students. Go ahead to the next slide, please. Oh, we've got a little editing issue there, but that's that's all right. What we say there is basically just as campus safety, what we do. A lot of folks kind of think of us as campus police, which is absolutely unequivocally what we are not. We do provide some safety enforcement activities as required, but primarily we view ourselves as a service that supports students in their day-to-day activities and in moments where they're unsure what the best next step is. So we respond to calls for service. We patrol the campus, providing a presence to deter negative activity. We serve as a resource for unlocking doors or helping folks who have locked themselves out of either their space or their vehicle on campus. We collect and hold lost and found for the campus community. And we provide personal safety escorts. So if an individual is feeling unsafe for any reason or no specific reason at all and requests our assistance getting from one point to another on campus or just off campus, we can provide an escort for that individual to help them feel safer. And then finally, and probably our least accessed, but one of my favorite tasks is supporting students, faculty, and staff in planning and preparing for their own safety through training, presentations, and consultations. So we do a lot of trainings and presentations. A lot of folks see campus safety is doing training and they decide to put us on red, but we do try to put that information out there as much as possible, address real-time things that are coming up on campus, challenges that we're seeing. And then also if a person is, again, feeling unsafe or has concerns about their situation on campus and things that might be impacting their safety, we welcome them into our space to discuss what are strategies that can be employed by themselves, with our assistance, or by the campus community in order to make it a safer place for all students. Some things that we noted in our sort of introductory paragraph that I don't really have a slide for, but I'll just touch on briefly. I do want to note that as is required of all higher education institutions that receive federal funding, we do publish an annual crime and fire report. It is linked on the campus safety website if you would like to peruse it. I am certainly in support of the transparency that's encouraged through that act. But unfortunately, I feel like we leave out a lot of the most common collegiate crimes. I would say bike thefts and things being taken out of students' vehicles are probably like the top two things across the country on college campuses, and nobody has to report those. So it's really it's an excellent tool for getting kind of the broad strokes of what kind of criminal activity might be occurring on or around campuses across the country. But I say that using that as a sole resource is certainly not the end all be all. But it does have a lot of documentation around the policies and procedures and things that we do, again, to kind of keep students safe or to support them in those moments of extreme situations. So definitely worth a peruse and a valuable resource. The other two things I wanted to note for you this evening are that we do have a mass notification system on campus we call UP Alert. It's driven by an application called Rave Mobile, and students are able to enroll themselves into that system. It's an opt-in for anything beyond an email to your UP email account. But students are invited to add a secondary email account, and should a parent be interested in receiving messages when we have alerts going out, they are welcome to coordinate that with their student, and they can be that secondary email. We do also push text messages and phone calls directly to campus community members for the most extreme situations. But generally, we're sending like a text message or an email or both to let folks know if something's up and needs their attention. And that's very typically sufficient. We also have Pilot Safe, which is our safety app. We encourage everybody who comes to campus to download it and feel free to use it. It is not behind a login. You're not required to have a UP account to access that resource. And it does provide another means of contacting the campus safety staff through a chat feature, and even offers a virtual safety escort. So if somebody's like, hey, I don't really want to be seen climbing in and out of a campus safety car because I feel weird about it, that's okay. Let us know. We're happy to virtually monitor your progress You set a timer, you get to your destination, you turn it off, everything's fine. If you do have a concern or issue that arises, it notifies us. You can also set it to notify a friend. So using that safety app does not require that you interact with campus safety at all. It's just one more tool that helps our students feel safe on the campus, and we're excited to make it available. And then finally, we are also responsible for parking on campus. For those of you who are having a student coming in from another campus, or this is your first foray into the college environment, so your student is classified as a freshman or a sophomore, there is a restriction that prohibits bringing a car to campus unless there's an exemption granted for a specific need. Please feel free to reach out to our department if you need assistance navigating that process. We're happy to help. But if you are going to bring a vehicle to campus, know that it does need to be registered. There is a parking fee associated with that. And our least favorite thing is writing parking tickets. So anything you could do to help minimize that number is greatly appreciated. And then I'm happy to move on to questions. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much, Mike and Isabella. We are going to transition to questions now, and we'll just do it. Anyone can jump in and respond briefly because we have lots of them. First question is, how do you ensure students know about resources before they need them? This is a great question. I'll start with this one. There are lots of information, and to be honest, you probably are not going to know every single resource or contact number that exists on campus. And so we obviously are doing summer wave right now. This is a great place to get started with that. And then we have orientation when you arrive in the fall. We also do a lot of updates. In fact, every week you get an email countdown to classes, and it highlights several different resources that exist on the university. But when you may forget or you're in crisis mode, you can call campus safety 24/7. You can call the pilot helpline 24/7. You can reach out to our staff, and our staff are on campus. We have RAs that live in the residence halls. We have hall directors and assistant hall directors. We have pastoral residents that live in the residence halls. So even if you do forget the resources, there are hundreds of people that are here to support and walk alongside you as you're navigating the various challenges that may come up. Any other thing to add on that one, Isabella?
No, I think that you covered it. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I think consistently throughout the year, we have a lot of staff who are working really hard to put those things back out and sort of refresh folks' memories. So there's a lot of tabling programs that happen where folks are seeing it as they walk to the dining hall or to classes or into the library. There's also a lot of social media presence across the different teams. And so we really do try to meet the students where they are and make sure that that information is available in real time.
Yeah, and again, the UP mobile app is a great resource, has a lot of those things just at your fingertips, or the Brave app that Mike mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So, all right, next question is, can you talk about physical safety on campus? Is it safe on campus, or is safety on campus an issue you can speak to? Being in Portland, it has a bit of a reputation.
Isabella, how safe do you feel on campus?
I feel pretty safe on campus because I am good friends with campus safety. And
Yeah.
so I know all about our resources.
I think we also benefit from being in what I would consider to be kind of an ideal space within Portland, right? We're just within striking distance of downtown, but even at those moments when there's some sort of political unrest or some sort of civil discourse that's going on, we're sort of outside that bubble. We don't really get direct impact from that. Students are able to continue their educational pursuits without being directly impacted. We are, in a part of the country that sees a pretty high degree of engagement with houseless communities. And so we do occasionally have folks on campus who are looking for assistance or just part of that particular life experience. And our team is really well prepared to engage with those conversations and help those folks get to the resources they need and minimize their impact on the students. But like any large open campus, we do have our challenges. So there are folks who see us as a potential location for them to commit negative activity, things, thefts, burglaries. But if, again, not, as I said, I don't love pointing at them, but if you look at our Clery stats, very low numbers in those areas, and particularly direct interpersonal violence is extremely low. Typically, we're looking at more property crimes, which is fairly common in most higher education spaces.
And I think I'll just add that the media portrays Portland in a much different light than the lived experience of the people that go to school here, that work here, that live here. Portland is an incredible city. It's a city that you literally from our campus to this downtown, you can be on a hike in 15 minutes. You can go to the coast in an hour and 15 minutes. You can go to the mountains in an hour. And so it is actually a very beautiful and incredible place to live. But just as in any city, that you need to be safe, and you need to be aware of your surroundings. And as Mike mentioned, we live in a residential neighborhood, and it's very safe to walk around. I live right across the street, full transparency, and I feel very safe living here. And I know a lot of my neighbors. In some cases, those neighbors are students, and some of the folks have no connection to the university. They feel very safe living here as well. Isabella, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think a lot of students that I've talked to really feel like we are in a special place. We call it the Bluff, as I'm sure you probably all have heard by now. And it is kind of a little oasis, and it's beautiful. It's surrounded by a beautiful residential area and the river on the other side. And I think that there is a real sense of community and safety and people looking out for each other and that kind of thing. And so I do think that it feels really good to be here.
Thank you. Next question is, if you could give one piece of advice to families about supporting a student's well-being in college, what would it be? And Isabella, since we ended with you, we're going to start with you.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I think that's a really great question. And I actually do have one piece of advice. As counselor, I don't often give advice. It's really more about reflecting and asking questions. But on this one, um, I really want to encourage you to listen to them, listen to their stories and their experiences, ask them questions, and stay connected. This is a time of, immense transition and growth and development, and not being quick to jump in and give your advice or give your opinion will make space for them to develop and share their own, and also build your relationship with them and their relationship and ability to trust you as well. So that is my one piece of advice. Listen.
Great. Matt, looks like you took off mute. Do you have some advice to?
I just have lots of questions for all of you. So I'll let Michael and Colin continue on theme, and then I'll ask additional questions.
Perfect. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Yeah. My advice as it pertains to families is really encouraging students to embrace the novelty of that experience, of the collegiate experience. I think there's a really large shift that has to happen, a dynamic shift. You go from being sort of top dogs at your high school to the brand new faces that don't really know what's going on. And there can be a sense of like, I'm in college, I'm supposed to have it together, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. And I think encouraging students to recognize that this is about trying things and learning about yourself and finding out what those next steps really are and what feels right and what sparks your passions and it's okay to not know. We tell folks around campus safety, nobody ever calls us to be like, hey, I don't really need anything and I'm having a great day. How are you doing? Right? Like when people call us, they've got a challenge that we've got to help them address. And we never hold that against somebody. We're never like, oh my gosh, why is somebody calling us because they need help? That's ridiculous, right? We live for it. We're here for it. And we really appreciate it when students in particular and families are willing to reach out and say, hey, we don't know what to do here. Can you help us out? Because that's literally why we get out of bed in the morning. So anything you can do to encourage your students to embrace that, anything you could do to self-talk yourself into embracing that, we really appreciate the partnership.
I'll just briefly end up with I actually have a whole presentation on this topic, but I'll just do one piece, and that is I think resist the rescue reflex. Allow your student to go through the process. Allow the student to, we don't want to use the word failure, but allow them to attempt multiple times. And because they will learn the most when they get to make the amount of attempts themselves.
Well, thank you, everybody. We have lots of common questions that students call admissions about. Some of them are specific to your departments, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you various questions as well. So I'll direct those to the department that they're appropriate for. But let's go ahead and start with health and counseling. So for Isabella,
Sure.
are students able to send medication prescriptions to campus, or does that factor in only to the insurance that they have? And then that's part A. And part B is, could you demystify the insurance process when they see health insurance on their bill and they actually have it? And what does that thing mean as far as getting coverage for college?
Okay, well, those are really big
Yeah.
questions.
Yep.
And fair disclosure is that we don't bill for counseling services, so I will do my best to answer the question on behalf of my partners at the health side. Um, so the first question was, can they send medication prescriptions to the health center? Did I understand you correctly, Matt? I'm
Yeah.
Correct.
gonna.
Correct.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
okay. So we don't have a pharmacy here at the Health and Counseling Center. So they can see our health providers and then they can manage many of the medications for them. But we could also help them with a referral to a local pharmacy. There are some that are fairly close to the campus, but we don't actually have a pharmacy here on campus.
And that's exactly what folks lo love to hear, just as far as kind of what they need to do. So,
Okay, okay, great. And if you have any questions at all about that, you can call our front desk and they are so helpful to answer all of your questions and to connect you with any of us clinicians if they don't know the answers. So just go ahead and call us and we will be happy to help. And then the other question was about insurance. And I think I will try to address this from a high level. And again, if you have specific questions, I would really encourage you to call the Health and Counseling Center, and they will be able to help you with this much more effectively and efficiently, I'm sure. There is a health insurance requirement. However, students can apply for a waiver for that if they want to use their family insurance instead. And so you just go through that process. The student health insurance plan is Pacific Source, and all of the health services are included for free. And we do lots of different kinds of things. We have a lab on campus. We don't do x-rays or other imaging. And we do refer out for a variety of other things, but the insurance, Pacific Source, again, is the student health plan. The only one that where we are in network for most of the major insurances. The only one that can be a little bit of a challenge is Kaiser, and that is because we are just not in network with them. So they really want their customers to see their own providers. But again, we don't want that to be a barrier. So we have a lot of services that are free. All of the nurse visits are free, regardless of insurance. And again, I think the best thing to do is to call the Health and Counseling Center for any specific questions that you might have. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
sure.
I have two really quick ones as well.
Sure.
The next one for Colin, what roommate assignments are going to be going out very soon? Students are anticipating residence halls that they chose as their first choice, second choice, third choice. They have roommates that they've selected. When a student is clashing with their roommate, what are next steps?
That's a great question. And I wish that I could say that every roommate pairing is a perfect match like you see on all the TV shows and everyone's getting along and they're all singing together. But sometimes they don't. There are some challenges. And the first thing I'll share is that we try to take a really good strategy with making sure that that doesn't happen. So we ask you to fill out these great questions. Like again, what time do you go to bed at night, and what kind of music do you listen to, and what are the interests that you have, so we can try to best match your particular roommates. When and if that does happen, where there is a challenge between a roommate, you have these really great resources that are live right next to you called the RAs. RAs can help facilitate some conversations between you to kind of walk through a conflict that may occur. We also have pastoral residents that live in the residence hall. Those are another resource that can be utilized. Of course, there is a kind of the next steps above that is our hall directors you can meet with. And again, the goal is at university is learn how to live with people that have differences and how to work and navigate those conflicts, because these skills that you learn now will help set you up for success for the rest of your life. If there is again, and we really try to, that is our goal, is to have people work their differences out, and occasionally once in a while there is some differences that this person just cannot go to bed before 3 a.m. and this person just set at their 10 p.m. and there's just conflict, and we will work to adjust those rooms, but we really try to keep people together.
Thank you very much. And then the last
Could I,
question. Yeah, yeah.
excuse me, Matt, could I just
No, you're
jump in
good.
here and say that we also see a lot of students who want to talk about these kinds of things. Interpersonal dynamics is a big reason that students come to the counseling center. And so sometimes students don't want to talk to the people that are right around the issue. They want to talk to somebody who has a little bit of distance from that. And so counseling is a great place to work through that, to learn some communication skills, to learn some conflict resolution skills. And we can also even see roommates together and do some mediation, that kind of thing, if that is something that the students would like. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of available resources, and we just want students to go through the door that feels most comfortable to them.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
The last question that I have, because we are at time and we're going to wrap up the webinar now, before we end things, when students go to their confirmed or enrolled student portal, there's a box there that indicates that they might want to consider assigning proxy access. Why would proxy access be important for each of your departments? Could you pick maybe something to mention briefly? Don't have to elaborate too much, but we just want to showcase why that matters, and then we'll wrap up tonight's webinar.
Yeah, just to clarify, Matt, what proxy as it relates to FERPA?
Correct.
So I'll just use a really common one. There, depending on the relationship with your family members, you may want them to, you may be really proud of your grades, and you want them to give them access to see your grades, and so you can essentially grant them access to be able to review that. They may say, "Hey, while I'm comfortable with you looking at my grades, I may not want you to have access to other things." And so the grades one is a really simple, straightforward one to point out.
I will jump in next and say that proxy at the Health and Counseling Center doesn't really apply to our work because we actually are confidential services, and so there's a different process that students need to go through called a release of information that they can provide permission to their family members or anybody else, their other providers off campus, that kind of thing, if they want to have us be able to talk with another party about their health or counseling care. So that's called a release of information rather than proxy.
And I'll share just as a general side. Again, hopefully none of our students on this webinar or if you're listening to this webinar will go through a process like this. There are some times where we will talk in general with family members about a procedure or a policy, but for example, if there's an investigation that is occurring, we may not be able to give you the amount of information that you want at that particular moment in time. And we ask our students to be very as transparent with their family members as they possibly can, so they have as much context as they possibly can. Because there's sometimes, again, because we're respecting the process, in some cases, we are required by law that we cannot share particular information. And so, but we were going to do our best to keep you informed and updated if you were per se a part of a process like that.
Awesome. Well, I think that that is a wrap for this evening. Thank you, each and every one of you for coming. And if students have questions, they'll be reaching out. We'll forward them your way as well. And I'm going to backtrack one slide here and just showcase this is a series of webinars. Tonight is one of many. So please continue, students. Continue to tune in. There's a lot of great guest speakers coming up. And Countdown to Classes will showcase everything that is up and coming. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.